The Devin Strader story continues to develop, as does a long, hard look at how the show is casting and vetting its incoming players. After Strader posted a 13-minute Instagram reel last week exposing hundreds of personal text messages between himself and season 21 Bachelorette Jen Tran, Reality Steve broke bombshell news with his report on Monday of this week that revealed an affidavit for Strader's restraining order as well as his arrest in 2017 for burglary of the victim seeking the restraining order. The unsealed restraining order is now on Reddit, and the details are easily searchable if you want to find those. We're not going to cover them here.
And today, this is September 19th, 2024, Thursday, Strader has issued his own statement in the wake of Bachelor Nation's online conversation about the failures of producers to properly vet incoming players. Strader released his statement as an Instagram reel that is plain white text on a black background that reads, "Following my time on The Bachelorette, there have been many stories and misrepresentations put out in the media that I want to take a moment to address. I want to apologize for the video I released following the final episode. I am not proud of that lapse in judgment. I'm truly grateful for my time on the show and for getting the chance to know and love Jen. I certainly regret hurting her in any way. She is a very special person and I wish her nothing but good things."
Most recently, there have been challenges from a low point in my past that have been brought up and severely misconstrued. The accusations are simply not true, as I have never inappropriately laid hands on another individual or treated my ex-girlfriend in any of the ways I have been depicted. The restraining order was never granted and fully dismissed. My college ex-girlfriend and I ended up reconciling and eventually ended our relationship on good terms. This was the first time I ever fell in love, and I learned a lot from our relationship. It was a growing experience for both of us.
"I know that I have made mistakes in my life and that I am not perfect, but I have continued to work every day to be someone that my family and friends would be proud of, and I am truly thankful to everyone who has been by my side."
Although the affidavit was publicly available during the casting process, the details in the restraining order were sealed when Bachelorette producers were conducting their background checks. Many within the nation believe the producers would have asked Strader about the nature of the affidavit, and they must have been satisfied with whatever his response was.
The only public statement that has come from anyone that represents the show was made to The Hollywood Reporter. It was given by a person classified only as a source close to the show, and the statement reads, "We take the safety of our contestants very seriously and make every effort to conduct thorough diligence. As exhaustive as our vetting process is, this protective order did not surface in our searches."
To make matters worse for the franchise, another restraining order has now surfaced for a player currently in the Golden Bachelorette named Gil Hernandez. Bachelor Nation Scoop posted the restraining order on Instagram, and it appears to have been issued on July 7th of this year on the basis of stalking. And you can, go to Bachelor Nation Scoop or just Google this. You can see the documents themselves. These are real. So what exactly is going on with the casting process at the show? How is this happening? That two back-to-back seasons have guys with restraining orders. There have been other, issues of this type in the past. On Becca Kufrin's season, a guy named Lincoln Adama. There was a guy on Hannah Brown's season who got kind of disappeared in the edit when allegations of this various kind of, I guess it was like domestic violence, or I don't remember exactly what it was. Some kind of sexual assault allegations that surfaced on that guy. Do you remember?
Something in that area. Yeah. I believe he had like the first one-on-one date, and then they just didn't. They must have found out while shooting to take him out. I'm not sure exactly the details on that. So this isn't the first time. And we obviously had the Colton Underwood and his ring winner, Cassie Randolph, that restraining order stalking situation. It's not a new thing for The Bachelorette. It is not a new thing for humanity, violence, physical and otherwise, against women. And it certainly seems to be mostly an issue in Bachelorette. We didn't have anything come out about Joey Graziadei's players, etc. It's been a very hard week for probably anyone in the nation getting all of this news. it has been a hard week for us as well. It sucks. And whatever the level of vetting that they're doing in casting, they need to up the subscription plan. Whatever it is that needs to go to the next level of money and time and effort, because it's not working.
Yeah. They need
and you're endangering your leads.
I agree.
The ad-free version, absolutely.
It's not only endangering your leads, which is terrible. It's what it's doing to the fan base, to the people who watch the show and love the show. It makes it more
women
difficult.
and gays.
Yeah, I mean, primarily.
That was another aspect of this. The hateful DMs that Devin sent.
Yes.
To that guy.
Exactly. Reality Steve exposed that too. He had a very homophobic interaction with someone online, text messages that he was sending to somebody. So it's more about just like his character. Like that type of a person, why would you want that person in the show? Now, granted, I don't think the producers can vet every text message that he's ever sent to anyone to find something like that. But all these other things are public record. And now it's coming out that people think they DM. Probably...
But maybe they should look at their DMs.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously you can't do that. Not yet. Yeah. AI will help us with that in the future. But
oh, good. AI will solve this problem. Next topic.
You'll be able to go through everybody's DMs. That's for sure. Every DM that you've ever sent to anybody, by the way, will be searchable within 5 years. Just throwing that out there. The idea, though, that all these other documents were basically publicly available and that potentially the producers did know and did ask Devin about it. And he was like, oh, yeah, don't worry about that. No big deal. And they were like, great, put him on the show. There has to be, in my opinion, for this show, a kind of blanket policy that if you have anything even approaching this, you're just not on the show. Why ever cast that person if they're in doubt at all? Why do it? Because now, you might be operating under the principle that's like, well, whatever. We just need 30 guys. We got to round out the number, which you don't. You can have one less. But even if you need that number, put in the next guy who is next in line and don't have this be a problem. Because generally what happens in these shows in Bachelor is no one really cares, or it becomes a thing like if Devin would have gotten knocked out in week 1 or 2, everybody would be like, whatever, he's a piece of shit, but they don't care. Unfortunately,
and maybe that's what they assumed would happen.
Well,
they were like, this guy's not making playoffs.
Of course, he might have been cast to be a villain and then he wins. But they've done this in the past as well. On Matt James' season, I believe they cast Rachel Kirkconnell knowing she was from a sundown town and that might stir up some kind of racism narrative. They did that with Rachel Lindsay and Lee Garrett. I think they tried to do that again and oops, she won. Now what do we do? As all this stuff is coming out about her at antebellum balls and, whatever. Not to say anything about the relationship she currently has with Matt James. Clearly they've worked out their problems and figured things out and they're still together. But in terms of the optics and what that looks like for the show, and then they make Matt James break up with her live after the final rose because of these things, it dampens the entire franchise. And they're doing it again and again and again. And now I don't know how far Gil Hernandez goes in Golden Bachelorette, but we saw, obviously, he won a rose at night 1. So he's in the show still. His restraining order is out there. And it seems like this is a problem they just cannot avoid.
Oh, I forgot about one.
Yeah.
The second Bachelorette, Meredith Phillips, the only one not in the Pass the Rose video, that famous video, claimed that she was drugged and sexually assaulted by a masseuse during the filming of her season.
And they just buried that story. I mean, this goes all the way to the top. Mike Fleiss has allegations against him for domestic violence from his, I believe they're still together, his wife at the time, that he took her cell phone and pushed her against a wall. It's in the culture of this show, it feels like.
Yeah.
And that is something that needs to stop, obviously. Again, not only for the safety of the players involved, but for the fandom. It becomes very hard to continue watching a show like this when there are other shows that don't have this problem, who are like Love Island, for example.
Or not as frequently.
Not as frequently, exactly. But it's like...
I think Love Island has had a couple.
Yeah.
And Love is Blind obviously has had a couple.
Yes. But those shows too, the group dating shows are like, they're of a different nature. So like one person could have a charge like this against them in a group of 15 and it's lessened. when it's one person who winds up winning the whole show and the whole show is devoted to the singular relationship, who is this person going to wind up with? And the person they wind up with has restraining orders against them. It's like, how the fuck did this happen? And I don't know what the answer is in terms of like how to fix it, other than more money and time vetting. You know, we'll get to a story
and only
about
cast women.
Yeah, only
That's
casting
the only
women.
solution I see.
They make the
Is
pivot.
just they have to pivot.
Yeah.
It's all lesbian bachelorette.
It's
That's the only option.
There's no more bachelor and there's no more bachelorette. It's just pure lesbian bachelorette.
Yeah. No
Okay,
more casting men.
I'm in. Let's do it.
It's a really good way to
turn
like
the page.
be like, okay, we're gonna get a lower percentage of assaulters.
Yeah.
I don't know because I don't
Hedging their
know.
bets.
Like, obviously, this is a systemic problem.
Yeah.
With like our culture in general, that there's not a centralized system for these kinds of things. You can't just look up on a list like the sex offenders list, restraining orders and stuff. And there's all these legal things. Clues and I are not lawyers. We don't know any of this.
Right.
I'm sure there are reasons for all of these things, for certain things being sealed, certain things not being sealed. But this is getting national attention. There are articles in the Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, etc., and it's not going away. It's coming into Golden now.
It feels very much like season 25 when Bachelor Nation news, it's like usually relegated to like Us Weekly and People and whatever and Reddit. Once these bigger outlets start picking it up, you're like, oh shit, this is not good. When a scandal comes out of Bachelor Nation into mainstream pop culture media, you know it's very bad. I personally think money really solves this issue. Money and a just like zero tolerance. You put a little more time behind the vetting. You put some more people on it who can do better background checks than whoever the fuck you've got doing it now. And when you find an affidavit requesting a restraining order, that's it. That player's out. There's no conversation. There's no, well, what happened here? It's just like that player can't be on the show. Why do it? Why take the risk of what is now happening? It makes no sense.
There's no reason. They are taking out risk, for sexually transmitted diseases. That's something they're very serious about. They should take out the risk in this. Okay. Well, they do the testing to try to make sure they're protecting the lead in one way.
Yeah.
I do think that like it has to change. I looked up the Becca Kufrin one after this because I was like, okay, how did they respond to it? And they said they found out there was a loophole in their casting or their background checks and that they fixed the loophole.
Yep, they sure did not.
There's another loophole.
Yeah.
There's certainly another one.
Oops. Well, we didn't know there could be more than one loophole, guys. So sorry. Anyways.
I mean, this is two. We don't have a paper record of the allegations against Marcus. I don't personally need to see one.
Yeah.
But both are final too.
Yeah. The Marcus thing is like harder to vet. But when there are public legal records of all of these things, and again, this reporting is starting to lean toward the direction of they knew, asked him about it. And I mean, we don't have that corroborated, but it's starting to look like that. That is unforgivable, basically. And I don't know. If
they knew, like, there should be lawsuits.
But like,
somehow. There needs to be lawsuits somehow here.
Who can sue?
I don't know, but
no one that's in the show. You sign a piece of paper when you come into the show saying you will never sue them. That's how you can't be on the show otherwise.
Yeah, but I feel like Jen can get away with whatever she wants. Not that Jen should have to do anything.
But she couldn't. She could get a lawyer who might take the case and say that these circumstances make the original contract null and void, like that the show was in breach because of this. But then the show's just going to be like, here's the contract she signed. Oh, and the court's like, well, that's over. Bye. There's no way to sue them.
But there's things in the contract like signing away your civil rights that that you can't actually do, like legally. You can't give up your civil rights.
Right. But if you're signing away your right to sue someone, basically indemnifying them in all cases, and in that contract it says bad things can happen to you as a result of coming on this show, and you know that, and you're still doing it, which the contract does say that, I don't think anyone who's ever been on the show can actually sue them for any of this kind of stuff, because they will maintain we did our due diligence. We found out what we could.
Lawyers out there in the nation, take a look. I
don't know. Yeah, Rachel Lindsay, maybe this is for you. Dust off the law degree. Come back to us. At any rate, that's the state of the game. Stay away. Yeah, you've escaped. Enjoy the escape. But that's the state of the game. We're not in a great place right now in the nation, but hopefully things will get better. That's why we're still in it. I still love this game. I still think mechanically it is the best dating game that has ever been made. And I can't help but watch it and just hope that these things, through outlets like us, Reality Steve, Dave Neal, everybody who's been talking about it, to continue to talk about it, shine a light on it so that hopefully it will change and it will get better. That's basically all we can hope for at this point.
Yeah, until I guess Clues' AI gets good enough to somehow fix this problem, I'm not sure what the solution is. But my woman only one, that is an actual solution.
It is a solution, but unfortunately, here's the bottom line of it. This is a network television show, and the mentality of all network TV executives, producers, etc., especially on a show that's been on the air for 22 years, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've survived things like this before, and this will blow over. That is their attitude. You can tell by the statement they issued from a source close to the show. There's not even a name with it. That LA Times article that came out before Jen Tran's season aired, but after it shot, you had Bennett Graebner, you had Claire Freeland, and you had, I think, Jason Ehrlich. They were in that article talking, saying, we're so sorry, we're going to get it better. This is like some nameless person close to the show. What does that mean? Who's that? That could be literally anyone.
It's Jesse.
Yeah, it's Sweet Nums. Like, it could be anyone.
Sweet Nums.
They're taking no responsibility, and they're just like, turn the page, say nothing, move on. Golden Bachelorette's on. Unfortunately, there's a guy on Golden Bachelorette with a restraining order. It's like the problem's not going away. They have to do something now. And
unfortunately, here's the bottom line. Our beloved game is a small window into the reality of living as a human being in our society. And violence against women is still a gigantic problem that hasn't gone away.
I agree. But I also think...
And so it's... I don't know.
The show is like... The idea of the show is that we are taking you out of the real world, that the problems of the real world don't exist while you're in this show. You get to go on these fantastic dates and overnight dates and fly around in helicopters and jump off waterfalls and shit. The idea of it is that it's a fantasy of what romance can be, where there are no problems. And that's what it should be. They're not delivering on the promise of the premise. And I think once you've got that, once the scandal is bigger than that, it's like, well, I'm not tuning into the fucking show then. And I think they're going to start to see real numbers being affected by what is happening currently.
100%. I have had so many people reach out to me and be like, I'm done with the show.
Same.
Like, and these people have been through a lot with the show. No, it is really hard to contend with as a fandom. I don't know. I feel so much for Jen. I feel so much for Joan and just all of the fans who have had this violence in their life.
Well, imagine, of course. The triggering effect
every
of it
woman
is
I know.
Insane. Absolutely. But like, imagine being a bachelorette. And so now it's like, you come into it, you're already nervous because you're like, the producers might be manipulating me. I hope that I am a good bachelorette. I hope the ratings of my season are good. I hope I find love. All these things are in your head. Also, now you have to contend with which one of these guys or multiple of these guys had a restraining order, or is some type of bad apple who slipped through whatever fucking vetting process they're doing.
The bad apple.
Exactly. Like, that's a part of it too now. It's just, it's really tainting the whole game. And they need to fix this problem immediately. Yeah. They need to issue a very public statement, probably from Jesse Palmer, about it. Like, do you remember when they sent him out at the end of, was it season 9? No, not 19.
The disaster background?
Yeah, whatever the one was where he's like, listen, Bachelor Nation, we hear you and we're going to do better. It's like that was said a couple years ago. They ain't done nothing better.
They always say that. They always say they're going to do better. The loophole's fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Keep watching our show.
Please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast. Please get a friend to listen to us. And then please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast.